Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Carl Gold. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for EdgeLife Technologies. I'm here today to demonstrate our wireless ultrasound probe and the app that drives it. In order to instruct on the use of the app, I'll be sharing my screen today so that the user can follow along with me on how to operate the ultrasound system. What we'll do first is open up our settings where we will look for, find, and connect to our probe network. Here is the network for the ultrasound probe. I'm now connected to the probe itself, and now I'm ready to open up the EdgeLife app. When I open this, it's clear that this is an ultrasound viewing screen, and we will explore the features of this operating system. In the upper left corner, we have our patient information sheet. This is where the demographics of each patient exam are entered. On this page, we can do a number of items. We can create a new patient record, update a previous one. We can delete patient records. And of course, the most powerful feature here is the search function. If I open that up, I'm able to search by name and date of birth any patient record I want. I'm able to select the record and display the images for this patient here in the area that we call our exam reel. This is a new patient. Currently, there are no images saved, but that's how one would search, recall, and survey the images from a previous exam. The next item over is a preset list. In this case, the probe has three separate imaging modalities: curvilinear, linear, and phased array cardiac probe. I simply select the exam that I want off of the preset list, hit the word select, and the correct end of the probe and the image on the screen now reflects a linear sector for a linear exam. Likewise, we could select a curvilinear exam where we have the curvilinear probe, and we could select a cardiac exam where we have the phased array sector at the top of the screen. For the remainder of this demonstration, I'm going to be using a linear sector. Otherwise, across the top of the screen are safety indices mandated by the industry. We display all three: temperature, index of soft tissue and bone, as well as the mechanical index of the probe itself. The other four boxes are simply a heads-up display for gain, depth, dynamic range, and frequency. These are the four most often manipulated parameters that define your image quality. In order to use the gain and depth features, simply take a fingertip, swipe straight up and straight down in the center portion of the screen, and that will control your depth. Likewise, moving left and right across the screen in the center portion raises and lowers the gain number accordingly. The area of the screen in the lower right corner, right above the letter D, with the fingertip touch and a strong swipe to the left, will open up our time gain compensation controls. Touching the screen anywhere closes them, and we're ready to explore other features. The button on the probe can be used to go live and freeze, indicated by the green or white snowflake at the bottom of the screen. Now that I'm in a free screen, I can go up to the upper right corner, which is the settings and parameters page. Here we can begin to customize the app simply by selecting update and filling in the blanks of the settings page accordingly. Otherwise, the back end of the app is controlled through the System Administrator portal, which offers a way to control the preset list or your exam types, predefined annotation library, programming in a PAC server or a work list application. User administration, we're able to assign usernames and passwords for a sign-on screen if needed. We are able to perform a probe test to make sure the probe itself is intact, and we offer an event log where the user is able to go back in time and look at certain events that transpired during imaging, such as user sign-in times, utilization times, error messages, etc. We'll return to the main page. We also have patient studies and image transfers. If I select those, these are the method used to obtain the patient studies for JPEGs and MP4s. Otherwise, the image transfer is the place to find DICOM images and transfer them to a PAC server. We are able to safely state that there is no personal information stored or obtained by the probe or the app. And of course, we can use the logout feature should we be in the username and password mode. Currently, we're in an automatic setting so that any user can pick up the probe and iPad and begin using it. In a free screen across the bottom of the screen, we have the toolbox, which is where the other image optimization parameters are set, and using the word overwrite can be saved for each new exam. We can also use the create feature inside the toolbox to create an infinite number of presets simply and exclusively used by the user. The remainder of the icons across the bottom in the free screen, we have a crop icon, which is where we would go for measurements and notations, as well as gestational age measurements under the letter G, also including estimated fetal weight measurements. These are your standard on-screen linear measurements, which include a trace function, meaning that the user can use their finger to outline an area on the screen. The letter A is for annotations, reports, and comments. So we can simply add an annotation to the screen by touching the plus button, touching the screen with the fingertip, then touching the word annotate, and we could label the image any way we want. After we're done with our labeling and our measuring, we're able to back out of the image, and now we're on the main screen, and we have our notated, measured screen with a numeric value. Now, along the bottom part of the screen, next to the freeze and live snowflake, we're able to save the individual image, or we can work with this icon to save the individual CineLoop. In the free screen, the bottom right-hand corner icon is a video playback, which can display individual frames of an entire CineLoop. The user can use the button on the screen with the fingertip to sort through the individual frames of the entire CineLoop, thus capturing the 1, 2, or perhaps 3 images best used out of that entire collection of 100 frames. There is also on the screen a magnifying glass so that as we go into the crop icon and the measurements, if we want to do really small measurements, we can select with our fingertip the magnifying glass. Then when we do our measurements on the screen, we're provided with a magnification window where we can actually see very small areas on the screen. There are some very specific areas of the app that offer additional features. One of those would be from the upper right corner in a free screen with the white snowflake, the settings and parameters menu. We'll revisit that briefly. In the lower left corner, we saw the menu earlier. Let's take a quick look at each one. Exam types allow the user to control the content and order of their preset list. Touching a green examination type will turn it blue, thus disabling the exam for the front end of the app. Or likewise, touching each individual exam will highlight it in green, which then activates that exam type on the front end of the app. With the fingertip selecting one particular exam type, I'm able to sort the list from this area of the app. Once I've completed the preset list the way I want to view it, I simply hit return. Back to system administration. We can use our predefined annotation to create a library so that we don't have to manually enter them each time. In network connections, we're able to select our packs or work list selections, and thus able to program in a particular pack server. Every pack server has three pieces of information: the AE title, the IP address, and port number. Once that is learned by the user, it is simply added in an update function to the network connections page, and then the app will know automatically where to send the DICOMs for the pack server. This is the location where before we were able to maintain users. That means create new users, assigning usernames and passwords for those instances where control or access to the equipment must be limited. Probe testing can be done simply by hitting the start button during a live imaging situation, at which point the probe will assess itself for any errors and the results will be displayed on the screen. The event log, as I said before, allows you to explore issues or concerns concerning sign-ons, issues with the device, or certain events that occurred during active scanning. I mentioned before, the probe and app are able to save images, which I showed you the buttons down here along the bottom, just to the right of the snowflake. Once an image or a cine loop is captured, it will be saved here on the exam reel in a small library for this patient and this study. The user is now able to enter the exam reel, double tap on any particular image to review it, or in fact, add measurements and notations after the image is saved. This is a very unique property of our app. In the toolbox, we saw earlier the independent scan modes. Let's now look at color, where we are able to place a color Doppler window on the screen. We're able to move that window with our fingertip anywhere we want. We're able to size again with the fingertip in any of the corners of the window. We are able to perform pulse wave Doppler imaging using the pulse wave Doppler function. We can perform M-mode imaging and power Doppler imaging as well. All 5 modalities are available quickly and efficiently here in the toolbox, with the dashboard for each control being activated by the upper right corner of the toolbox. Earlier in the video, we showed the toolbox. Now I want to show you the individual settings. There are 2 frequencies available for each imaging modality: a dynamic range selection, a speckle reduction filter, and a focal zone. Of course, the focal zones are displayed along the left-hand side of the screen by the little white arrow. We can manually adjust them here with the up and down arrows. We can filter out the background noise or the speckle, and we can adjust our contrasting or dynamic range simply by using the arrows in the toolbox. Once we have imaging parameters that give us a very good image on the screen, we're able to hit the word overwrite, save our settings, and then create a new label, as if we wanted to, for example, image the carotid artery. We would have a good set of imaging parameters on the screen, and now we've created a new preset for ourselves. Very simple and efficient. In addition to transferring images directly to a PAC server, we are able to come to the image library for this particular patient, and using some of the features available at the bottom of this page, we would be able to send this image along to anyone else we wanted to, simply by selecting the image that we want with the fingertip in the empty box. We select the send feature, and then we're given a choice of how we'd like to move the image around. We can text, email, upload it to Gmail, Dropbox, send it in a chat, or Skype it. We can do anything we want with the image from directly inside the app. Exporting is simply moving all of the files from the app to the hard drive for backup and safety purposes. Of course, we can delete any images we don't want, and I've already demonstrated how to double tap an image and add your measurements and notations to it after you've saved the image. The final few features of the app are done during live imaging with the green snowflake at the bottom of the screen. Right next to the toolbox, what was a crop icon in a free screen for the measurements and notations function is now an icon with two rectangles. Simply touching the icon with the fingertip does activate split screen imaging, with the active screen being displayed with a small green outline. Simply taking a fingertip and touching the other side of the screen, the green outline moves over, and now this is the active portion of the screen. One might be able to do two views of the same structure, perhaps a longitudinal and transverse comparison, or perhaps a comparison between one side or the other. Very helpful in many clinical situations. The letter D in the lower right corner, selecting that icon will give you two additional icons in the upper right corner. The one with the dots in it, place a midline on the screen. Touching it again removes the midline. Touching the hypodermic icon offers a menu for in-plane needle guides or out-of-plane needle guides, or clearing the needle guides off the screen. Orientation of the screen indicated by the little green dot in the upper left corner can be switched from left to right or superior to inferior by using these features in the hypodermic icon. Touching it again will cause the screen to go back to normal imaging. Touching the letter D one more time clears everything off the screen, and now the user is back to basic B mode imaging. And last but not least, there are some features activated by simply touching the screen. In the upper left corner of the screen, tapping with the fingertip reveals the patient information as well as the exam features. Touching the screen in the upper right corner reveals a slider which can brighten and darken the entire screen. And as we said before, touching the screen in the lower right-hand corner with a vigorous swipe to the left reveals the time gain compensation controls. This concludes the demonstration video for the features and functions of the wireless ultrasound probe and the app from EdgeLife Technologies. Thank you very much for watching.